now we're transitioning over into the beginning steps of when you're actually moving on to writing your application and stuff like that. So, for one, narrow down the criteria that you want the schools that you're looking at to have. For me, my criteria was that it has to have a Japanese language program, it has to have study abroad in Japan and hopefully other countries that I'm also interested in. It has to have a game design / development program, and it has to have fine arts majors. So I will say that for the major that I'm wanting to go into, well, I was wanting to do 2 majors, so double major in fine arts and then game design / game development. The problem is that not every school actually has a game development or a game design program. It's either going to be game development or it's going to be game design. So they will not have both. At least that's just not what happens here. Now, sometimes they will, but the difference in this is that if you're going into game design, it's more art heavy. If you're going into game development, it's more coding heavy. And that's because the game development is usually underneath these universities' computer science schools, and then game design might be underneath their mixed media department or their fine arts schools. So keep that in mind, and unfortunately I have literally not found a single school that actually strikes a good balance, because what I'm good at is art and coding, and the fact that most of these schools didn't have an actual good balance of both integrated into the program was really disappointing. So it kind of made my decision-making process a little bit more wonky, and I would have preferred if they had gotten something like that. And again, I had applied to about 17 schools, so the fact that this was a consistency amongst all of them was it was disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, making sure that you have the requirements for what you want your school to have, and again, it all comes down to that they have all the options for you to be able to explore, even if the things that are your criteria are things that you are not interested in later on in your 4 years in college. So, and I say 4 years, but you might not actually be there for 4 years. You might be there for less, you might be there for more. It's not a problem, it's just what it is, because everybody's journey is different. So, number 2, now that you have your criteria, search for schools that match up with those things. So have at least 7 schools on your list, because this will be helpful in narrowing things down. If you find more, absolutely great. But just know that, you're applying to schools, so you're writing an application for each, not everything, but your general application will be put through Common App. Number 3, decide on a potential major that you want to enter into with. While you can be undecided most of the time, your classes will usually be gen eds anyways, so it doesn't exactly matter at that point. So your freshman and sophomore years will just be getting those general education classes out the door, and then in your sophomore, maybe your second semester, or going into your junior year and your senior year is when you actually get to work on the stuff that's related to your major, unless you've knocked out all of those classes through those dual enrollment classes and those AP courses and stuff. You're able to get a whole lot more done if you already have things out of the way, which is what I'm coming into school with, which is great, because I just want to get started. I do not want to have to deal with an English class or a public speaking class, so I already did those. But the reason why I say that you should go into college with a potential major is because this will also affect how you're looking for scholarships. And again, this is kind of from my experience going into the computer science, the arts, and everything. If you have one of these fields in mind, or any other fields that you're wanting to be interested in, there are scholarships that are fit for those particular fields. So when you're looking for scholarships, people will give you a lot of money if you are wanting to go into computer science. Amazon gives out scholarships, Google gives out scholarships, Microsoft gives out scholarships, and Coca-Cola even has their own scholarships. And the universities themselves have scholarships that are underneath certain majors as well. So if you're undecided, you won't have the opportunity to apply for those things, because you're not coming in with a potential / declared major. That doesn't mean that you won't have the opportunity to be able to get money even if you aren't with a declared major. It's just the fact that you won't have access to these other things because you don't have a potential major in mind that you wanted to declare in. So now, number 4, make a who am I document, which is basically going to be the rundown of your life story and why you are wanting to, do college. And the reason why I say this is because you're going to be telling a story about yourself to these colleges. You're not just stating facts, you're telling them a story to win them over, because stories are a lot more effective to people's souls and to their hearts than facts. And that's usually just the way it goes. Now you can supplement it with facts, but it's not going to be as effective. So that's why everything that's a part of your application must weave into the story of who you are as a person and lead back into your application. Now you don't have to have like a sob story or anything, but just like a story in general of who it is that you are, and your goals, your aspirations, the things that make you happy, the things that make you tick. Those are the things that you want to write inside of that document. 5, collect all the things that you've done in high school. So awards that you've won, extracurriculars, service projects, internships, jobs that you've had over the summertime, publications, leadership positions, all of those things you want to write down, because they're going to ask you about that. Because a lot of schools and a lot of scholarships ask that you submit a resume. Yes, a resume. That's job speak, but no, they really do ask for resumes. A lot of the higher up schools or whatever, they ask for your resumes. So like UPenn, MIT, I think MIT asked for one. And I think Georgia Tech also asked for one. So those universities and stuff are usually going to ask for a resume. So will the scholarship programs who are outside of the schools. And this because it condenses all the information of like your academic and service and all those things into one space that they can just flip through, and it should only be 2 pages long or 1 page. Like, condense it down to that much. Either you're going to be messing with the text and the title size, like you got to make it work. So figure out the things that are the most important that you want to add in there. And if you don't add it in your resume, you can add it in your application. And if you add it in your application, you should add it in your resume. So vice versa kind of thing. So if you're missing something that you have done that you didn't want to include in your resume, you can add it in your application. Making sure that nothing goes to waste, because nothing that you have done has gone to waste. It's being put to use now. Again, still about the resumes, kind of, which is kind of separating them into 2 different categories, which is academic and then major specific. For mine, I had my academic resume, which had like my GPA, the courses that I've taken through dual enrollment, my AP courses, some of the different opportunities that I've had as far as like service and volunteer things. And then on top of that, you want to have your major specific. So I also had an art resume and a tech resume. And for some of the things I did, I just combined the 2 because it actually made it a whole lot easier, because you could just send them out instead of sending 3 different ones instead of 1. But you do want to be able to section off the information. So make 2 just so that you know what is going to be falling underneath which category of the stuff that you've done, and then choose the things that you want to add together into one big one that's just like all the stuff. So kind of like I had mentioned earlier about whether or not you're going to be using the Common App application for submitting your general application essays, or if you're going to be using that other program that I literally do not remember the name of. One thing that I will say is that not every college uses Common App for their general entrance application. So like MIT, they don't use Common App. They have you go through their own application process. So you got to sign up through their website and submit their application through their website. But for the most part, all the essays that you have written will apply across all of the schools, which is why, that's the way that it's the common application, because they're commonly found in all of the schools. But sometimes the schools will have their own questions that are not the exact same ones that the Common App has, but you can see that within the Common App. And it should, there should be an option for you to be able to see that. On top of that, if your major is underneath an art department, they will ask for a portfolio. So They usually have portfolio questions, and I'll go through my portfolio and what I submitted to each of these schools at another time in a different video. But do know that they will have their own questions written down for each of those things, talking about like, oh, why did you use X color? Why did you use what type of process do you have? What goals do you have for your art in the next 7 years or something? Like, they will ask those types of questions for your portfolio application.